Pardon the interruption, but I'm Mike Wilbon. It's Friday the 13th, Tony. Have you been unlucky today?
I'm Tony Kornheiser, not yet, but we still may have to do a Sports Center segment. That would change everything.
You know, you're not blessing the Sports Center segment. Yeah, I'm not a superstitious person, so I don't really care.
I am sort of superstitious, but I was born on the 13th.
You're 13th, yeah.
So I am not. Friday the 13th doesn't bother me at all. I sort of welcome it. But yeah, I have ridiculous superstitions which cause me to refer to amulets and chains and things and rings. You don't want to know. You don't want to know. Welcome to PTI, boys and girls. In today's episode, the Bills roll, the Bengals talk trash and do, and Aaron Judge hasn't hit a homer in 16 games. But we begin today with Tua Tagovailoa and the concussion he suffered in the third quarter of last night's Dolphins-Bills game. Tua left the game under his own power. This is the third diagnosed concussion he has suffered in the NFL, and there is no timetable for his football future. Wilbon, your thoughts on what you saw and the decision that Tua faces?
Well, Tony, I was watching that game live last night when Tua went down, and I'm thinking, wow, it wasn't a head-to-head hit. It didn't seem that hard. It wasn't straight on. Yet you could see him crumple, like as it happened. And then he has that fencing response, and you're like, or a milder version of it maybe than he had 2 years ago. But you're like, oh my goodness, no, not Tua again. And so I just looked at it, and you start immediately going through the questions. But my first one, what does this mean? Is he going to get back in the game? I was way past that. Like, what do you do?
Yeah.
Like, what happens to your career? What happens to this thing that you have practiced your life for and prepared your life for to have? And you've gotten pretty high up on the ladder, right? And you are successful at this thing, and you're making money. And you've made $70 million or whatever it is, but you got another 160 or so left on the table for you to collect and change your family's life. It's generational wealth. What happens? And I just go, man, I don't want to see this happen. And was glad, Tony, when he could get up and walk in a way that he could not 2 years ago. Yeah. So I thought, okay, this isn't as bad as it was before and not as bad as it could be.
Yeah, I think it's important that we note that we have had this discussion about this player many times before.
Yeah.
We are getting near the territory where you use a word like tragedy. This is many concussions for him. He has had other significant injuries. The irony can't be lost that, as you say, it appeared to be a very ordinary tackle, and it was done by Damar Hamlin, who,
how about that,
a couple of years ago had cardiac arrest on a football field. So you look at this and you wonder, okay, what happens next? I assume that Tua would want to play next. Again, of course he would. He's a very good football player, but is football actually good for him? I just want to take a couple of seconds to single out the coach of the Miami Dolphins, Mike McDaniel, for what he did in the aftermath of this concussion. He walked Tua off the field and kissed him on the head. Yeah. I was so moved by that. I felt that everything he has said to this point, Mike, everything that he has said is what you would want from a coach or a friend or a father. We don't know how it's going to end. I am skittish about the end, because you have to have medical opinions, you have to have family opinions, you have to have Tua's opinion, what you want most of all is for the rest of his life after football to be good, and you just don't know when that's going to start.
Or if it will be.
Yeah,
and Tony, real quickly, the reminder to me, as someone who played everything Sandlot and never football at any level that mattered, not even in high school, is that it is so dangerous just to be out there. Just to be out there. When you see Hamlin collide with Tua, that should stop and give everybody pause. And I know even players, hardened guys, Mike, gave them pause.
Mike, it feels like it's a well-written script.
Yes, a warning.
That is designed to get Tua to consider how much more football he wants to play.
Yeah, maybe so, Tom. The Bills won the game in a romp. James Cook scored 3 touchdowns. Jamarcus Ingram had 2 interceptions, including a pick 6. And Josh Allen had no turnovers. Josh Allen, now 12-2 against the Dolphins in his career. So, Tone, what did the result of this game tell you about each of these teams?
Well, I can't speak to the Dolphins because they're in flux now until they settle their quarterback situation. They're going to put in the backup guy, Skylar Thompson, and all we can know for sure right now is he's not doing. He's not doing. But I can speak to the Bills because there's no haze around the Bills. They've scored 65 points in 2 games and they're 2-0, and that's pretty good. This is the first full year that Joe Brady, right? Joe Brady is the offensive coordinator. He's running the ball like crazy. He's run the ball 59 times in 2 games, and he's only passed the ball 42 times in 2 games, which feels like he's trying to protect Josh Allen a little bit. Josh Allen last year in 6 different games threw the ball at least 40 times. He has now thrown it 23 and 19. Mike, in 94 games that he's played for the Bills as a quarterback, only 7 times has he thrown it less than 23 times out there. So there's a change in the way the Bills are orienting their offense at this point, and they look, they look quite good at the moment.
Tony, they do. You know what? I don't think of him, Brady, as protecting Allen as much as I just think this is the way they ought to play. First of all, you can't protect Josh Allen because he's going to do things like fly through the air like he did last week when he only threw 20 passes. He can, in 2 plays, he can be reckless. That's who he is. That's his personality. He's bigger and stronger than most, and he knows it. But I think I think power football is the way that this Bills team, they look pretty good doing it so far. I know it's a small sample size, just the 2 games. But Josh Allen doesn't need to fling it around. If you've got that offensive line, and you've got a team with that personality and a quarterback with that personality, if you're bigger and stronger, then damn it, be bigger and stronger. You don't have to float like a butterfly. You don't have to do that. So I like the way the Bills are playing. And you're right about Miami. We don't know anything about them now.
They're running it. The Bills are running it and eating up the clock.
Yes, they are.
And that is a good thing. Because actually, let's get back to Josh Allen. You don't want to give him that many opportunities to fly through the air and hurt himself if you can avoid it. Since Brady has been the offensive coordinator, the Bills are 8-1 in the regular season and 1-1 in the playoffs. And the only 2 teams they've lost to,
they should have won in the playoffs,
are the Eagles and the Chiefs.
Yeah.
And those are good teams.
Should have won that game.
Those are good teams. All right. We'll stay with football, and we will move to the 0-1 Cincinnati Bengals. The other day, DB Cam Taylor-Britt said disparagingly of Chiefs speedster rookie Xavier Worthy, this is a quote, "He can run straight. He can't do too much else," unquote. Yesterday, wideout Jamar Chase said this, a quote, "We are the team to beat in the AFC. Everybody knows that, bro," unquote. Wilpon, are the Bengals in a place to be talking so much trash ahead of Sunday's game against the Chiefs in Kansas City?
The Bengals are nobody. They're nothing historically. They've been in, 3 Super Bowls, I guess? Or is it still 2, 3? I guess it's 3 Super Bowls. They haven't won any of them. The Bengals are, and also ran. The Bengals were AAA. The Bengals, for most of their history, have been somebody's homecoming opponent. So, seriously. Now, I must say, they've become interesting because of Joe Burrow and largely Jamar Chase. And now Jamar Chase is out there running his mouth after not even being around for, camp. He's around for it, but not participatory. This now has I've got to watch this. I've got to see this game. If they back it up, Tony, God bless them, if they can back it up against the 2-time champs. But I'm not taking Cincinnati in this matchup. Not now. Not after they run their mouths and they got to play against the Chiefs out there.
Now, there's no such thing in the second game of the season as a must game, and I know we would agree on that.
That's right, we do.
But if Cincinnati were to win this, they'd shut everybody up. I got to give them that. They would shut everybody up. This is, to me, this is the classic definition of bulletin board material.
Yeah.
You take on a rookie and you say, he's really nothing. He can just run in a straight line. And then you say, we're the best team out here. Okay, a couple of hard facts. You're 0-1. You scored, I think, 10 points against New England. New England's a terrible team. You lost to a terrible team. So if you say we're the team to beat, a terrible team just beat you. They just actually did this. So I'm just not convinced that the Bengals are taking the right move here. You talk about Jamar Chase. I didn't even know he was going to play this year. Like he was holding out. He's mouthing off. We didn't even know he was going to be in. I love Joe Burrow. I loved him in LSU. I loved him when he had the cigar after the national championship. He did nothing in game one. Every armchair doctor in America is talking about his wrist.
He's shaking his wrist.
That's all they do. They talk about his wrist. So it strikes me as fairly risky business to be mouthy when you're going to play the Chiefs in Kansas City.
This is cool, though.
Maybe
you got to take a side. You got to take a side. Are you with the Bengals going into this game? Do you want to see them beat back the champs? Or do you want to see the Bengals get trashed for running their mouths, having done nothing in their whole history? They practiced under the highway, under a bridge, like trolls. Are you kidding me? You've been there? Spiny or spinny field. I forget what it was called. Peter King took me there once. I was like, a professional team practices here?
Literally.
Oh, my
under a
God.
highway.
It's kind of cool, though.
Literally. Let's take a break. Coming up, Aaron Judge has not hit a home run in 16 games. What's the word for that?
Could Shohei actually take the mound in the postseason? That sounds like hype from other shows.
Last night, literally, when McDaniel kissed him on the head.
Yeah, that's great.
Very moving.
That was cool.
Very
cool.
moving.
McDaniel's done all the right things. He says all the right things all the time.
Time to put in a good word or two. What's first?
It's blank that Aaron Judge has not hit a home run in 16 straight games.
My word is deja vu, because this is how Judge's season started, Mike. First 34 games, he's batting .200. He has 6 home runs. That's a pace for 28. Then he gets crazy, wildly hot. Next 94 games, he's hitting .382 with 45 home runs. That's a pace of 78 home runs. Then he goes in the dumpster again recently, and in these 16 games, he's batting .207 with 0 home runs, and that's a pace for 0 home runs. Okay? The Yankees have 15 games left. I assume he's going to hit some home runs, but I would not know where the number is. I couldn't go over under because I'm not comfortable even thinking about how many he's going to get.
Tony, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter to think about how many home runs he's going to get. It's irrelevant that he's gone that many games consecutively without a home run. Juan Soto hit one last night to win the game, didn't he? The Yankees are 2 games up on Baltimore in the division. They're a game up on Cleveland. They got the best record in the American League. Who cares? I mean, he's already got 50 plus. Nobody's going to catch him. I guess for a major league lead, I guess Ohtani could catch him, but he's not going to catch him.
Yes.
So you got these 15 games left. And listen, Tony, he's had a great season already. He doesn't have to get to 60. It doesn't matter. And he's probably going to bust out of it and hit 3 or 4 more anyway.
One small correction. Soto won the game with a single.
Okay,
Soto's great.
Won a game. Yanks
when
2 games
Soto
up.
signs that contract, it's going to start with a 5. Yeah. 500 million. What's next?
It would be blank if Shohei Ohtani were to pitch in the postseason.
My word is Ruthian. Babe Ruth did this for the Red Sox. If Shohei does this, he's right there. In the 1916 and 1918 World Series, Ruth pitched for the Red Sox. Listen to this line. He goes 31 innings. He's 3-0, and his ERA is 0.87. That's pretty good. But he batted poorly. He was only 1 for 11 in the series, so he's batting under a buck. And Shohei, I know, is going to bat better than that. The reason this comes about is that the Dodgers manager, Dave Roberts, said on radio today, and there's a direct quote here, that not only is he not ruling out Shohei pitching in the postseason, but the quote is, if things line up, great. And then he said, if that happens, that would be storybook. Look at Dave Roberts playing What's the Word. Look at him.
I hear you on what Dave Roberts said. Let me say something. It ain't happening. And so that's my word. Not happening. They're not going to throw Shohei out there in October for the first time. You know what that would be? That'd be another word. Stupid. They're not going to risk the greatest player in Major League Baseball today, all right, because if it's not Judge, it's Ohtani. You're not going to put him in harm's way like that. You're not going to just trot him out there after a few bullpen assignments or go into AAA. Stop it.
What if he's
You
cleared
know
to
better.
pitch?
You don't just walk off the street in professional sports and do anything well. People try this every now and then, and it looks stupid. It backfires because it doesn't work. They're not going to do this, Ohtani. It's a form of gamesmanship. What?
Mike, he's the unicorn. Nobody has ever pitched and hit like him.
He's not. You want to bet
maybe
me
he
now?
can.
You want to bet me now?
No.
He is not
I tend to
pitching
agree with
this
you,
October.
but I'd love to see it.
Not happening.
Love to see it.
Not
well, maybe November. Maybe November. That's the last word.
Winter League
Let's
instructional.
take one last break. Still to come, the Steelers provide an update on Russell Wilson's status.
And the new coach of U.S. men's soccer, he's got big ambitions. Maybe he can get Shohei.
I hope so.
Maybe Shohei can come out and play some midfield for him.
And kick. Maybe he can kick for him.
You know,
He ought to have big ambitions.
He'd be.
Happy time, people. Happy 57th birthday, Michael Johnson, one of the great all-time sprinters. Johnson won 4 Olympic gold medals, a 4x400 relay gold in Barcelona, the 200 and 400 in Atlanta, and the 400 again in Sydney. Johnson held the world record in the 200 for 12 years. He held the world record in the 400 for 17 years. Now Johnson has started Grand Slam track, where he will put on track meets around the world. Johnson has already signed 400-meter hurdles gold medalist Sidney McLaughlin-Levrone, 1,500-meter gold medalist Cole Hocker, and Olympic medalists Fred Curley and Kenny Bednarek. I am for this. I like to watch track. Any race, any distance. No ambiguity in the winner.
Tony, you know I completely agree with you on that and how we both feel about track and field. And I just think Michael Johnson, you outlined what he's done. He's like the most underrated, and he's just ignored almost in terms of the discussion of great Olympians, great American Olympians. People don't mention him. Hey, pay attention. Start to mention him. Michael Johnson, just a hell of an athlete.
Gold shoes, baby. Gold shoes. Not so happy anniversary, Arkansas State. On this day 10 years ago, excuse me, in an attempt to distract the Miami Hurricane punt coverage team, the Red Wolves employed the fainting goat gambit. Arkansas State receiver Booker Mays fell flat on his back to divert attention from the fake punt Arkansas State was about to run. The play failed miserably. Miami's Raphael Kirby intercepted the pass thrown by the Arkansas State punter. Clearly, nobody on Miami gave a thought to the fainting goat, making me wonder who in football history did, and how could this fainting goat last long enough for Arkansas State to try it? I like fake punts and fake field goals, but a guy falling down?
You know, that must have worked like 80 years ago when somebody was running a wing tee. Plus that, you got a man in motion, and you got things going on over there already. It looks like he could have, just fallen, tripped over somebody's ankle. It just looked poorly designed. But I bet you we can find out it worked like 80 years ago somewhere.
So did I 80 years ago. Happy trails, Derek Bender. The Twins cut the minor league catcher after he reportedly told opposing hitters what pitches were coming in last week's game that eliminated his team, the Fort Myers Mighty Muscles, from playoff competition. The game was won by the Lakeland Flying Tigers 6-0, and Lakeland coaches notified Fort Myers coaches about the breach after the game. Bender had reportedly told teammates that he wanted the season to be over. You got your wish.
There got to be some more layers to this, right? Right, Tony? But this is so much worse than, some of these betting things you hear about. This is worse to me. You're a traitor. You're just aiding the other team in live time. And that should result in some kind of ban, not just the season being over.
Yeah, well, not only is the season over, but his career is probably over. You can't do this.
No, you can't.
It's
Worse than
it appears
worse
to be
than
incredibly selfish and self-destructive. One omission. The Packers listed Jordan Love as questionable for Sunday's game against the Colts. What do you think that means, Wilbon?
They're just subterfuge. It's just mind games. That don't get me started with taking shots at the cheeseheads. Come on now.
All right, we go to the big finish.
Let's
Mike Tomlin says Russell Wilson is questionable for Sunday's game at the Broncos. What does that mean?
He could play if he had to. We got more cheesehead talk. These cheeseheads, the ones who play in Madison, they're going to melt in 85-degree heat in the upper Midwest in the middle of September. Melt. This sounds like Alabama by 25, but I'm rooting for the cheeseheads. I am. I'm rooting for the conference, rooting for the Big Ten.
We're out of time. We'll try and do better the next time. I'm Tony Cornhush.
I'm Mike Wilbon. Have a great weekend, Knuckleheads. You can get the podcast on the app or Apple Podcasts. And now,
so would that be grilled cheeseheads?
Going to say, for me, looking from the outside in, just take a triple thought about your next steps, because football is such a minute part of life, and we respect this game, and you're a part of this game forever. And Tua, you're a legend, bro. You're a legend, and I see you, we see you, and I love you, and I appreciate you for the efforts and that you put on that football field. But my heart, my soul, my mind, my relationship with God goes to you, and I will forever pray, whether you touch that field again or whether you don't. I support you, and I'm rocking with you, brother. So my heart's to Tua.
Appreciate you sharing those comments. We're going to have you back here shortly on the program on SportsCenter to talk about your team's fantastic 2-0 start and also some things you like to do off the field.
Yeah.
So apart from just the concussion, according to ESPN Analytics, the Dolphins entered the season with a 30% chance to win the AFC East, which was just narrowly behind the Jets. And then their chances improved slightly after the Jets' loss in Week 1. But of course, they've now plummeted to 3%, which is last in the division, assuming that Tua will be out indefinitely. For more on what life could look like without Tua Tagovailoa, we bring in our NFL insider, Jeremy Fowler. So let's just play hypothetical because his status is still very much up in the air. What would some options at quarterback be for the Dolphins?
Yeah, the Dolphins' primary option now would be Skylar Thompson, the backup. They would get him ready to play against Seattle next week, and that's really the safe assumption around the league is that's how it will go, and they'll give Tua some time to heal. Beyond that, it is slim pickings for the most part. It's not an overly deep free agency pool. You have Ryan Tannehill. They could reunite with him in Miami. He's been staying ready, but he could want to wait for more of a starter role. The sense I get is the Dolphins are looking for a backup role behind Thompson, assuming Tua does miss time. You have Blaine Gabbert, who's been in the league for a while, Ben DiNucci, but not a lot of stars. And I don't get the sense the Dolphins are going to stretch and make a big trade here either. So from what I was told, there's so much information that they're gathering on the Tua situation, they're really not overly worried about their options right this moment.
Yeah, we heard Mike McDaniel even say yesterday that he felt like Skylar Thompson, who had to relieve Tua last time he was out with concussion, could steady the ship. In other injury news, what's the status of some key players around the league? And start with Niners running back Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah, the news just came down from Kyle Shanahan. He will miss Sunday's game, second straight game, with the calf and the Achilles issue. So you're talking about two separate injuries, and they are considering injured reserve for McCaffrey, which is a big swing of events from just 9 or 10 days ago when everybody thought he would start the season. But this thing has lingered a little bit. He got some work in practice on Thursday. Didn't go so well. So it's a bit of a setback. And Jordan Mason, no question about it, will be the starter this week and probably longer. And you got Hollywood Brown placed on injured reserve today by the Chiefs with that shoulder issue. They had thought this was healing okay, leading to as early as this week. But as they did their scans and their x-rays, something was off. It looks like the shoulder bone had moved a little bit, and so he's going to undergo surgery Monday in Vail, Colorado. Could miss a good chunk of time. At least they have Rashee Rice and company ready to go. You got T. Higgins, hamstring issues, still dealing with it. Second straight week, he'll be doubtful. He's hoping to get back in week 3. He did tell our Ben Baby that this is not contract related, even though the talks were very contentious, didn't get a deal. He's on the franchise tag. This is about him wanting to get back on the field. He wants to put together a full season and get ready for free agency in 2025. Russell Wilson listed as questionable officially. Justin Fields certainly remains the favorite to start a second straight game. In fact, I'm told that Denver has been largely game planning for Justin Fields. They're not really expecting a revenge game from Russell Wilson. So looks like it'll be Fields another week. Wilson could dress, whether he's inactive or active. He likes to get the pads on and get dressed. He'll probably try to give it a go Saturday morning in the walkthrough, see how he feels, if there's even a chance at this point.
Undoubtedly, they're going to do a win-win for the Gipper speech. Russell Wilson versus his former team. Justin Fields, by the way, threw for 156 yards and was sacked twice against the Falcons in a win. Did exactly what his new offensive coordinator, Arthur Smith, asked him to do. Jeremy Fowler always shows up ready for his assignment.
L over to baseball, a guy who always shows up ready for his assignment. That is the unicorn, Shohei Ohtani, looking to do something nobody's ever done, become baseball's first 50-50 player. He's got a league-leading 47 homers and a career-best 48 steals, and he's got 16 games to go. He's already one of 6 players in the 40-40 club. L.A. in Atlanta tonight, a matchup featuring two teams still Thinking about some playoff jockeying. On the scene in Atlanta is baseball reporter Alden Gonzalez. Alden, Ohtani's having an outstanding year, and it could get even better for the Dodgers. What more can you tell us?
That on top of him potentially winning an MVP and getting to 50-50, he might pitch in the playoffs. All of a sudden, that's not impossible. The Dodgers have been saying flatly no to the idea of Shohei Ohtani being available in October all year. Today, Dodgers manager Dave Roberts left open that possibility, saying that it is a non-zero chance that he would be an option for them. I mean, look, Shohei Ohtani continues to progress in his rehab from a second elbow surgery. He might soon face hitters, and the rest of the Dodgers starters are still kind of going in the opposite direction. Tyler Glasnow had another setback today. Clayton Kershaw is still on the injured list. The Dodgers still look exceedingly short-handed with their starting pitching. Now, I should add the caveat that at this point it's still probably a little bit of a long shot. There's still a lot of steps for Shohei Ohtani to clear. I'm told that if this is an option, it wouldn't be until the NLCS, maybe even the World Series. But the fact that this is even being considered speaks volumes to the expectations around the Dodgers and where they're at with their starting pitching right now.
Can you imagine him on the bump in an NLCS game or a World Series? And let's not forget what he did in the World Baseball Classic, shutting it down and winning, of course. And by the way, that was Ohtani wearing a Freddie Freeman shirt in Atlanta in the return, by the way. Alden, thank you so much.
Still to come on